Hello everyone, I am Bhavika from UPSC Civil Services, and in this video I'll be discussing with you section A of paper 2 of UPSC Law Optional of 2023, which comprises of mercantile law and the contemporary legal developments, a relatively easier portion and mostly current oriented. This part of the paper comprises of law of contract, mercantile law, and the contemporary legal developments. In this, the current and the recent developments, the latest Supreme Court judgments are very important, and a lot of paper was from them. Starting with question number 5, the compulsory question. It is a statement based. The law of contract is not the whole law of agreements, nor is it the whole law of obligations. It is the law of those agreements which create obligations and those obligations which have their source in agreement. A statement by Salmon. Critically examine this statement. So this question is talking about the agreements which create obligations that are called contracts. In the starting, we can start by defining agreement and contract, and only if an agreement fulfills all the conditions of a valid contract, it creates obligations. Therefore, all agreements are not contracts and they do not create obligations. Now, in this question, the question is at the suit of a partner, the court may dissolve a firm on certain grounds specified in the Indian Partnership Act of 1932. The right of a partner to ask for dissolution on any of the grounds mentioned in the Act cannot be excluded by an agreement to the contrary. Explain. It is a very simple and direct question. Explain about the dissolution of partnership firm and mention its grounds. Then, Section 44 of the Partnership Act will be discussed in detail relating to the dissolution by court. Another easy question it is, the parties cannot appeal against an arbitral award as to its merits, but this does not mean that there is no check on the arbitrator's conduct. Awards may also be challenged. Critically examine the above statement. In this, firstly mention that there is no appeal on the arbitral awards, they are final, and then explain the grounds in which it can be challenged in the court. Explain Section 34 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act. Now the next question is again direct. In India, there are different types of intellectual property rights which are protected under different laws. Explain. So in this question, explain what are IPRs and list them and explain all of them with the name of their acts like the copyright, trademark, patents, geographical indications, etc. The last question of the first compulsory question of this part. What kind of cases are heard by the National Green Tribunal? How is it different from the Central Pollution Control Board? Now, in this question, explain about NGT in short and then mention about its jurisdiction. Now, differentiate the National Green Tribunal and the Central Pollution Control Board in various parameters like the its establishment, purposes, the function, the jurisdiction, all that. Now, coming to the next question, the constitutional courts, through their judicial activism, have made substantial contribution in protecting women against exploitation, using public interest litigation as a tool for securing their constitutional rights. Explain with leading case laws. Another easy question. It is about PIL and judicial activism. So it can be explained and how women were granted rights and how it protected women from exploitation, starting from the Vishakha and versus State of Rajasthan case. You can list out various cases decided by the court. Now, this question is that a minor's contract being void, ordinarily it should be wholly devoid of all effects. If there is no contract, there should indeed be no contractual obligation on either side. Explain with case laws. The most basic question from Contract Act, it talks about the minor's contract. I think it is not difficult for anyone to attempt it, so I'm not going to explain it. This question is, a bearer instrument is transferable by simple delivery. An instrument payable to order can be transferred by endorsement and delivery. Explain. Define both bearer instrument and instrument payable to order and explain their transferability as per section 47 and 13 of the Negotiable Instruments Act. Now it is the next question, question number 7. Standard contracts contain a large number of terms and conditions in fine print which restrict or often exclude their liability under the contracts. The individuals can hardly bargain with the massive organization. Explain the modes of protection which have been evolved by the courts. Start by explaining what standard contracts are. Then list out the protections or the conditions for their enforceability, like no misrepresentation, reasonable notice, strict interpretation of exemption clause, etc. Some cases can also be cited, like Henderson versus Stevenson. Another one is Central Inland Water Transport Corporation Limited versus Brojonath. Another question is, describe the constitutional roots of right to information in India. Refer to the decided case laws. Right to information is now an act of 2005, but it has its roots in the constitution from Article 19(1)(a) and 21. That is what has been asked in the question, along with some case laws, in which you can cite People's Union for Civil Liberties versus Union of India and any other case law for that matter. Now, in this question, the doctrine of undisclosed principle comes into play when the agent neither discloses the existence of his principal nor his representative character. In such cases, discuss the rights and liabilities of the principals, the agent, and the third parties. It is another direct question from the rights and liabilities of the principal, agent, and the third parties contained in the Indian Contract Act. Coming to the last question, that is question number 8. Under what circumstances can an intermediary be held liable for third party content hosted by them? Explain the liability of intermediaries in the light of the relevant legal provisions and in IT Act and other contemporary developments. In this, explain what are intermediaries, then explain Section 79 of the IT Act and also the IT rules of 2021, the provisions relating to intermediaries. After this, do mention about the newly introduced Digital India Bill of 2023 and how it classifies intermediaries in different criteria. This question is, media trials entail the possibility of subverting administration of justice. In the light of this statement, analyze the report of Law Commission of India on media trial. Now, this question is about media trials. Explain what it is, and then the report which is being asked in the question is the 200th report of Law Commission, which is trial by media, free speech versus fair trial under criminal procedure. List out the observations and the recommendations of the Law Commission in this report. Now, this is the last question of the paper 2. Though risk and property generally go together, the two are not inseparable. Sometimes risk may be in one party and property in another. Discuss the law relating to passing of risk under the Sale of Goods Act of 1930. This is the last question and very easy one, and I don't think that it needs to be explained. But you can start by the general rule that risk passes with the property and then list out the exceptions to it and explain them. So this was all about paper 2 of 2023. Now, if you have had look at all the 4 videos and have been through both the papers of the law optional, you will be able to guess one thing, that no portion of the law optional syllabus can be left untouched. Each and every portion is equally important. So in our course on law optional, the foundation course, I'll be discussing with you each topic in detail, and then I'll also be providing you with the notes of the same. And I'll also keep the students updated about the current judicial developments on each topic as and when required.